So I make YouTube videos for fun, right? But for my day job, I also help lead a small church in a city called Red Deer in the province of Alberta, which is in Canada, in case you're wondering, and where streaming just wouldn't have been an issue for us a few years ago. COVID has changed everything. It means that it has to be a core part of what we do. And everything I've seen so far suggests that the new M1 Mac Mini is a great solution to stream our services. And right now I'm recording into the Mac Mini. I have no idea how it's going to turn out. By the end of this video, we'll know for sure whether I made the right decision in buying it, and also whether it might suit your multi-camera streaming setup too. You ready? Let's go. Hey everyone, my name is Dave Betts, and this channel is all about learning and hopefully helping you to do the same too. Let's kind of jump straight in. You've probably come across the M1 Mac Mini already. It's all the rage right now, and if you haven't, here's a super quick rundown of what made us consider it for our church setting as a streaming computer. You know, it all comes down to ports, portability, power, and I guess for another P, price. You know, the new Mac has an Ethernet port, 2 Thunderbolts, 2 USB ports, and an HDMI port. And you know, that's fewer than the older Mac Minis, which I know is a contentious issue for a lot of you, but for us, it's still great. We were using one of the older MacBook Pros, which had 2 USBs and 1 HDMI, and that was it. So it's a pretty big upgrade for us, actually. So that was really good. And it's also super portable. I mean, it's not as portable as a laptop, obviously, but with a wireless mouse and keyboard like this, it's really easy to move around. And we rent our space to 2 other churches, and for a whole host of reasons, we have differing tech setups, which means that we basically have to pack down everything we have and then set it up again each week. So kind of with that in mind, the smaller blueprint, the smaller footprint, I guess, makes a big difference. You know, I looked pretty hard at getting a desktop and just thought, actually, the space was too much, took up too much space. Next, power. Although the Mac Mini is small, it's really mighty. We got the 16 gigabyte model, and you know, the new M1 chips have been tearing it up in those spec tests, and that's a really good thing, obviously. But what's really surprising is just how cheap it is as well. There's power paired with price, right? You know, Apple is not known for cheap stuff. In fact, if you've been following this channel for a while, you'll know I moved away from Apple in the last year because of that. And you know, having said that, this is a really good priced machine. We couldn't find anything that combined a better blend of ports and portability and power and price. So we decided to go with the M1 Mac Mini. And some of those reasons might be right for your context, some of them might not, and that's okay. But what we're going to do now is jump over to my church context and see how it performs in a real world setting. Okay, so we are in our little church building, ready to go. Excuse the cables. We are still really in testing mode, just making sure that this all works okay. But we have the Mac Mini. That's connected to an A10 Mini, the Blackmagic A10 Mini. It's a really good piece of kit. I'm going to review that soon because I think it's awesome. We've got 2 cameras pointing into this thing. We've got this one, the Canon Vixia G50. We've just upgraded to this so that we can get high quality video stuff. And then in our next one, we have what you can see is the stage view. There's not much to see right now, but that's the Canon EOS. I don't know. It's a budget DSLR. We're borrowing that from one of the other churches that meets here. So to cut back, again, you can see me. We are also running sound through our Allen & Heath QU16 via USB. Really like that. It's nice and easy, straightforward, fewer cables. In our 4th HDMI input, we have a laptop running Faith Life Proclaim. Now, we use that for our words and stuff. Now, the way that works is I could cut to channel 4 and you could see what's going on. But really, we don't really use it that way. Instead, we turn the key on. And so then when we go to words and things like that, you can see the words appear on the screen. If I cut to number 2, you can see kind of what it would look like if I were on stage. In fact, I'll run over there now. I don't know if the signal will be good here. This is live, so the signal might be pretty poor, but let's try it. So, okay, so this is from the stage. The MacBook is also running the lights up here. We don't have many lights. I've got most of the house lights on here, so you can't really see much, but the laptop's running that as well. In terms of internet connection, we've got an Ethernet connection to the Mac Mini here, which is
At the moment, when I last did the stream test, it was 320 megabyte download speed, which is very, very fast, and then about 16 or 17 megabyte upload speed. So all of that to say, what does this stream look like? I'm streaming 1920 by 1080 at 30 frames per second. I don't know what it's going to look like. This is the first test. So I'm going to stop the stream. We're going to see what it looks like, and then I'll talk about it afterwards. So I'll see you in a sec.
Okay, so let's talk about some first impressions. So far, I'm really happy with what I'm seeing. The MacBook Pro that I had was 5 years old, and when I bought it, it was 3 times the price of the Mac Mini, and it was fully spec'd out as well. And because the MacBook was reasonably powerful, I just assumed it would function okay for what we needed. And to be honest, I was totally wrong. It couldn't stream our service. It barely coped at 720p, 24 frames per second, streaming and nothing else. With all that stuff going on, the CPU was struggling so much that it was basically unusable at times. And on the other hand, this guy, the Mac Mini, it was running lights, it was recording at full HD, it was streaming at 1080, 30 frames per second, and it felt a bit like, I don't know, watching those old Superman movies where a criminal tries to hit him with a crowbar. Have you ever seen that? It had no impact whatsoever on the Mac. It was awesome. So let's be clear, the lighting in that other test was terrible. The stage camera is only an entry-level DSLR. I just wanted to test it in a real-world setting, which was the setting that we'll be using in every week, which isn't perfect. But maybe let's take a look at streaming it here in my basement with much better lighting with my GH5 and my GH9. Let's take a look. Okay, so we're back on a streaming setup. Again, I've set up some lighting, I've got the background going, I've set up 2 cameras. I've got the Panasonic GH5, which is the main camera here, and then using the A10 Mini, I'm going to switch to the G9. So this is the G9 right now. It's a new camera of mine. I'm still getting used to using it, so I'm not completely convinced about the colors, but I'm working on it. Both are fairly flat images. I'm using the Cine D profiles, which I normally use when I'm recording, and then I'll color grade afterwards. So they might look a bit flatter than usual. I'm deliberately not going to change those. I want to make that choice so you see it as it is. I guess if I was going to live stream properly, I would use a different color profile. I might make some adjustments elsewhere. Other than that, I'm using a shotgun mic, the Rode NTG2. Which is my usual mic. You'll see that in most of my videos. I'm actually streaming over Wi-Fi, which makes me nervous. It was 40 megabyte download speed and 10 upload speed, which is still pretty good. I'm pretty optimistic that it will come out okay, but it's not connected via an Ethernet cable like it was at church, and that was just a ridiculous speed. So this gives you a picture of what it could look like if you were streaming in a more produced environment, shall we say. So again, 1920 by 1080 at 30 frames per second. So 2 stream tests done, one over Wi-Fi, one over Ethernet, and I have to say, I'm pretty relieved so far. I think buying the Mac Mini feels more and more like it was the right choice to make for our context, and I'm pretty confident that all those rave reviews that the Mac Mini has been getting are kind of justified, actually. I mean, I'm trying to think of things that I don't really like about it so far, and it is pretty tough, but I came up with a few things. I think, firstly, I don't like that you need an external port to connect a monitor, which is a stupid thing, I know, but for someone who's used a laptop or an iMac for the last 15 years, it's really weird recognizing that you need an extra port for that. If you're a desktop user, obviously that's not an issue because you're used to that. The headphone jack, this is probably the most annoying thing. It's kind of frustratingly just underneath a USB port, which makes it pretty annoying in terms of accessibility. The inbuilt speakers are just so terrible that you wonder why they're even in there. Surely just don't bother. And I wish internal storage was cheaper. We got 256 gigabytes worth. It works out cheaper to buy an external storage instead, but those are pretty small things, right? I think so. Otherwise, the Mac Mini does exactly what we need it to do. There's a good selection of ports. It's reasonably portable. It's very powerful, and it's a really good price. So if you're looking to stream events or podcasts or maybe church services or really anything with cameras only, personally, I think you're good to go. Now, some of you might be thinking that this might be a computer to stream games. Well, I'm going to be honest here. I can't help you. I don't know. I'm an extremely casual gamer at best, so I'm definitely not the right person to help you out there. It might be great. It might not. I don't want to risk steering you in the wrong direction. And to be honest, I just don't really know for sure. But for video, like I say, go nuts. I totally see why the YouTube world is going crazy for these pretty epic computers. It kind of makes sense now. As someone who didn't want to believe it, it really does. So the big thing, as always, what do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts or comments or questions. It's always so good to hear from you. So thank you for commenting. Keep doing it. If you found this video helpful, please would you consider the whole like and subscribe thing? You know, that's epic. It's really helpful. Other than that, as always, wherever you are in the world and whatever it is you're up to, have an amazing day. And I will see you very soon. Bye.